allow me to thank Dimitri for giving us the opportunity to be back in Greece, to be back in Athens once again. Both Georgina and I, as young children, studied at classic Lyceum. We have done 5 years of ancient Greek, and of course for us, Greece and Athens are a must.
Don't speak in ancient Greek, please.
Okay. My duty today is to speak about laboratory diagnosis of autoimmune liver diseases. And the disease I'm going to talk about first is autoimmune hepatitis. I'm asking the translators, the excellent translators, whether I'm going slowly enough. They say yes. So it is a progressive inflammatory disorder with hepatocellular biochemistry that is increasing transaminases. You have to make the diagnosis of autoimmune hepatitis, you need to exclude other possible diseases like Wilson disease, especially pediatrics, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, and NASH that we have heard from John a few minutes ago. Of course, autoimmune hepatitis is positive also for something. It's positive for autoantibodies and elevated level of immunoglobulin. Now we have a look at the autoantibodies that we find in the serum of patients with autoimmune hepatitis type 1. There are 2 types of autoimmune hepatitis. One step back. To make diagnosis of autoimmune hepatitis, you need to have a biopsy. This is what you see in the biopsy. This is called interface hepatitis. You see more inflammatory cells than the remaining hepatocytes. And if you look carefully, you see that amongst these mononuclear cells, these lymphocytes, these immunocompetent cells, there are a lot of plasma cells, which are the ones producing the antibodies, the autoantibodies, the immunoglobulin G. This is what you find in the serum of a patient with autoimmune hepatitis type 1. On the left, you have an anti-smooth muscle antibody, which stains, this is a kidney from a rodent, this rat. You find a vessel and a glomerulus stain. This is an anti-smooth muscle antibody. To the right is a liver, again of a rat, where you find an anti-nuclear antibody. You can have the antibody on the left, the one on the right, or frequently both of them together in type 1 autoimmune hepatitis. In type 2 autoimmune hepatitis, you have the autoantibody that you see on the left, liver kidney microsomal antibody, or the one that you see on the right, liver cytosol type 1, or frequently both of them together, autoimmune hepatitis type 2. So the 2 types of autoimmune hepatitis are defined by the immunoserology, by what you find in the blood as far as autoantibodies are concerned. Frequently, as I said, LC1 and LKM1 are found together. If they are found together, LC1 is not reported because they stain the same part of the liver and LKM1 is stronger, so LC1 is not seen. If you want to see, you need to use other techniques like immunodiffusion. Going back to autoimmune hepatitis type 1, anti-nuclear antibody, if you want to see the pattern of anti-nuclear antibody, you need to use these peculiar cells, HEP2 cells. What you see stained is the nucleus. So they are used because these cells, because they have a very large nucleus. And here is the typical morphology, the typical picture, which is homogeneous type of anti-nuclear antibody. Again, in biology, nothing is 100%, so in autoimmune hepatitis type 1, it is 80% of the patients who have this pattern, the homogeneous pattern, but 20% have the other pattern, which is called speckle. The diagnosis emerged of autoimmune hepatitis. When with Michael Manx, we were writing up the guidelines for the AASLD. Georgina was asked to do the pediatric part, and I was asked to do the serological part. And we had very big problems, because when we presented, when we wrote our part, we said that the testing should be done by immunofluorescence. And the board of ASLD told us, in America we don't do immunofluorescence any longer. You are behind us. We do only ELISAs. And we told them, look, ELISA are not as good as immunofluorescence. So there was a long debate. In the end of the day, we managed to have immunofluorescence in the text. And it is important because antinuclear antibody in autoimmune hepatitis type 1 does not have a specificity. So you can find it positive by immunofluorescence, and we see it here. You test with your ELISAs all other reactivity, you can find all of them negative, but the antibody is still there. And that does not only pertain to liver disease, but also to connective disease, to rheumatological diseases. And what happened in the States was that in Boston, a patient with systemic lupus erythematosus was delayed in its treatment and diagnosis because there was a negative report using ELISA. And what happens in the States, they went to court. And after that, the American College of Rheumatology set up a task force to discuss how autoantibodies should be tested. And what they came up was with the recommendation that the first line testing should be immunofluorescence. So that is true for the rheumatologists and is true for the hepatologists. Going back to this anti-smooth muscle antibody, the anti-smooth muscle that you see in autoimmune hepatitis is particular. You have the vessel, but the anti-smooth muscle staining only the vessel. You can find in any hepatic condition. You find hepatitis B, in hepatitis C, in Wilson, in NASH. But if you find that your antibody stains not only the vessel, but also the glomeruli, therefore you have the VG pattern. We are talking about the kidney of enrollment. Or the VGT pattern, also the tubules stain. So if you have VG or VGT pattern, the suggestion is that autoimmune hepatitis is there. It's a very specific test. But this pattern is called the actin pattern. And people say, if it is the actin pattern and there is the molecule of actin, why don't we set up an ELISA? And this is what people have done. They have purified actin and they set up ELISAs. And what happens is there are a number of reports. And I'll just quote one. And as you see there, using this ELISA, you will find positivity in 80% of patients with autoimmune hepatitis, but also in almost 30% of patients with hepatitis C. That using a cutoff point of 20 arbitrary units. So people say, let's go up, let's try 30 arbitrary units. And what happens is, of course, that the hepatitis C is less represented, but also the autoimmune hepatitis is less represented. And what happens at the end of the day, that if you use this pattern that I've shown you, the VGT pattern, you have not a great sensitivity, but a very high specificity. So there is a specificity, 60% of the cases are detected, and there were no false positives. I give you some examples. This is a child, elevated transaminases, histology of interface and lobular hepatitis, multilobular prolapse, hepatitis B, C, other viral infection excluded, and was found to be positive with antimitochondrial antibody. People in the audience will say antimitochondrial antibody, but was not that the antibody associated with primary biliary cholangitis, primary biliary cirrhosis? Yes, it is, and it was. So this case that was referred to Georgina and to me, what we did, we asked people to repeat the test. This is coming from Chicago in the States. They repeated the test and they confirmed the anti-mitochondrial antibody positivity. At that point, we said, please send the antibody, send the serum across. And what we found is that the antibody was positive for liver kidney microsoma. The serum was positive for liver kidney microsoma. 1 in 10,000, meaning that you can dilute 10,000 times your serum and the antibody is still there. And we use also an ELISA because there is a target for a molecular target for this antibody. And this ELISA went out of the scale. So we had to dilute it and dilute it to be able to measure it. And that tells you that the diagnosis, the immunofluorescence in the States is not done so well. What this case tells you that nothing has happened as severe because the diagnosis has only been delayed. The astute clinician had already started corticosteroids and so on. Why do you make the mistake? Because if you use only the kidney disc, on the left you have one antibody, on the right you have the other one. So the misdiagnosis is frequent enough. If you look at the right, you see that the smaller tubules reaching mitochondria are more stained to the right, but you need to have a good eye. So you could make the differential diagnosis using the kidney only, but that is not the thing to do. What you should do is to add a stomach of the rat, and the antimitochondria stains the stomach, the liver kidney microsoma not. So if you have another tissue, the diagnosis is immediately made, and you don't make the mistake that was made in Chicago. Also, there are the molecular targets defined for the antimitochondrial antibodies is PDC2 pyroid dehydrogenase complex E2. There is a kit commercially available, so you do an ELISA. There is the molecular target for liver kidney microsoma antibody 31 is cytochrome B456. In doubt, you do an ELISA. There is also a molecular target for LC1 FTCD. So we have the possibility of doing ELISAs if we are in doubt. Another couple of cases of interest. So this is a 20-year-old female, Caucasian, is a nurse from Southern California. No specific symptoms, hepatomegaly, splenomegaly, unexplained increase in immunoglobulin G 5 times the upper limit of normal transaminases. Anti-nuclear antibody, anti-smooth muscle, anti-mitochondrial were all negative. Liver biopsy said cirrhosis, and the diagnosis was of cryptogenic hepatitis. In this case, and in the next one, sera had been kept in the original hospital. These were referred to a transplant center. So what happened is the patient was tested. There was an anti-liver kidney microsoma 1 in 640. The diagnosis, the retrospective diagnosis, was autoimmune hepatitis type 2. The outcome is liver transplantation. Georgina would get upset because her patient with type 2 autoimmune hepatitis very, very, very rarely are transplanted. But here they had to be transplanted because they were not diagnosed, were taken too late. What about the second case? Similar case, 16-year-old female, Hispanic, student from Southern California, an extreme increase in immunoglobulin G, 21 times the upper limit of normal transaminases, so pretty elevated. The patient was jaundiced. The autoantibodies that you see there were negative. Liver biopsy cirrhosis. The diagnosis of cryptogenic hepatitis, so you say, all right, this is like the other one. Up to a point, yes, the diagnosis was made retrospectively of type 2 autoimmune hepatitis. The serum was stored, but in this case, the patient died. And there is no way that the patient should die with type 2 autoimmune hepatitis these days. One thing that one asks is the liver kidney microsomal antibody pathogenic directly? Luigi Muratori in the group of the late Franco Bianchi has shown that the antibody reacts with the surface of the hepatocyte because the target of liver kidney microsomal is present in the endoplasmic reticulum, but 5% is exported onto the external side of the membrane. So there is the possibility that liver kidney microsomal antibody is pathogenic directly. who is this guy? This guy is SLA, soluble liver antigen, these days called CEP6. This is an important target, and is SLA, which is not detectable by immunofluorescence. This is why I've not shown a picture of immunofluorescence. Anti-SLA positivity is associated with a longer time to achieve remission, tendency to relapse, more severe histology, death, more frequent death or transplantation, and association with HLA-DR3. Let's move to what used to be called until last year primary biliary cirrhosis, now it's primary biliary cholangitis, progressive inflammatory disorders, fatigue, pruritus, jaundice, as you know, cholestatic biochemistry, positivity for antimitochondrial antibody, and elevated level of immunoglobulin M, not G, but M. If you look at the biopsy, you see the bile duct not in a very good condition. You see also a granuloma and an enormous infiltrate of immunocompetent cells. This is histology, but these days is the histology still needed to make the diagnosis of primary biliary cirrhosis? It is not, because it is sufficient to have either the histology or antimitochondrial antibody and elevated alkaline phosphatase. Two of the three are sufficient to make the diagnosis of primary biliary cholangitis. So, while in autoimmune hepatitis biopsy is 100% required, it is not in PBC. The antimitochondrial antibody, as we said, is the antibody defining PBC, is present in 95% of the patients, and is arguably the most highly disease-specific antibody in human pathology. Two notes of history of antimitochondrial antibody was described in 65, and the association with PBC was done in 66. And these are the two ladies responsible for that. Deborah Doniak on the left, she discovered the antibody. Sheila Sherlock on the right, she found the association, the antibody with PBC. So they worked together, this important collaboration. Now, what about this one? The identification of the targets of PBC was done by this guy. Here we are at our home in Italy. The guy in the middle is the nephew of George Gershwin, but he himself is Eric Gershwin. So Eric Gershwin has got something musical in the family, but he's extremely good with PBC. He was able to describe the target, the epitopes of the autoantibody. AMA are very good predictor of the disease. I tell you the story because it's very English. It is a very English story. And it was published by Mitchison at the very beginning. Positive antimitochondrial antibody, but normal alkaline phosphatase. Is this primary biliary cirrhosis? We are in Newcastle, and people, they were sending to the central laboratory a request of autoantibodies. They were sending it from the liver unit, but also from the rheumatological unit. And especially from the rheumatological units, there were quite a number of patients who were positive for the antimitochondrial antibody. So what they've done, they looked at this patient, they were investigated for our autoimmune liver disease, but what was interesting, the alkaline phosphatase was normal in all of them. In Newcastle, there was Oliver James, and in England, north of England, so he went to this patient and said, "Can I have a biopsy, please?" And what he did, out of these 29 patients, he took biopsy of 26, and 24 of these 26 already had something suggesting that the bile ducts were not so well. But as I said, England being England, north of England being north of England, Jane Metcalf got the patients back 10 years later. And the median follow-up was 17 years. Really, 22 of the 29 patients had developed symptoms of PBC. 24 had liver function test showing cholestasis. They repeated the biopsy in most of them, and there was clear PBC. So The anti-mitochondrial antibody tells you that PBC will be there in 10 years, 20 years. But if you have an anti-mitochondrial antibody, almost certainly the disease will come. What about negative primary biliary cirrhosis? In negative primary biliary cholangitis, you can have specific anti-nuclear antibodies. This is called multiple nuclear dots. It is highly specific. It's even more specific than anti-mitochondrial antibody if it is there. It is there in patients negative for anti-mitochondrial antibody, but it's there in patients also positive for anti-mitochondrial antibody. If there is an anti-mitochondrial antibody, you don't see this one very well because it's very strong fluorescent. But if patient is negative for anti-mitochondrial antibody and you see this, the diagnosis of PBC is made. Whether you should see this, the target of this particular antibody is SP100, so it's possible to do an ELISA. But also if you see that under your microscope, this is ring-like antibody. The nucleus is stained just around the periphery. That is very, very highly specific for PBC. If you have one or the other of these antibodies, usually the disease is more severe than just having anti-mitochondrial antibody alone. Also for this one, there is a molecular target, which is GP210. And this is my couple of final slides. The antibodies are useful if the laboratory is familiar with the different patterns. If the physicians request appropriate tests and interpret the result correctly, so that is the second part of the jigsaw. The third and most important part of the jigsaw is this one, that the physician and the laboratory should talk to each other. And in this country, fluorescence is done, and it's done extremely well, so I'm very pleased. Maybe there was a quotation of the Beatles earlier on, let me quote the Beatles myself yesterday. Yesterday, Dimitri and I were co-authoring in a paper in the last in 78, so we still remember that. It was very, very nice working together, working under Roger Williams